Cooper was informed that his demands had been met, and at 5:39 p.m., the plane landed at Seattle-Tacoma Airport. Cooper instructed Scott to taxi the plane to a secluded, well-lit section of the runway and to shut off the power to the cabin to block snipers. Northwest Orient's Seattle operations manager, Al Lee, approached the plane in casual street clothes to prevent Cooper from confusing his airline uniform with a police uniform, and handed the backpack filled with money and parachute to Mucklow via the stairs at the door of the plane. After the delivery of the ransom and parachute was completed, Cooper allowed all passengers, Schaffner and flight attendant Alice Hancock, to disembark. While refueling, Cooper communicated his flight plan to the crew: fly southwest toward Mexico City at the lowest possible speed without losing the aircraft, about 100 knots, 190 kilometers per hour, 120 miles per hour, at a maximum altitude of 10,000 feet, 3,000 meters. He also specified that the landing gear should remain extended for takeoff landing. The flaps should be down 15 degrees, and the cabin should remain unpressurized. First Officer William Rataczak informed Cooper that the aircraft's range was about 1,000 miles, 1,600 kilometers, under special circumstances, which meant that another refueling would be necessary before entering Mexican airspace. Cooper and the crew debated and agreed that Reno, Nevada, was the appropriate stop for refueling. Cooper eventually directed that the aircraft take off with the rear exit open and the stairs extended. Northwest's representative objected, on the ground, to the takeoff with the stairs still extended. Cooper argued that this was a safe method, but he did not argue the point. He had already lowered his ego. An FAA representative requested a face-to-face meeting with Cooper on the plane, but was refused. The refueling was interrupted when the auto tanker's vapor lock failed, and Cooper became suspicious. But he sent a second tanker to refuel, and a third after the second ran out of fuel. At approximately 7:40 p.m., the 727 took off with only Cooper, Captain Scott, Flight Attendant Mucklow, First Officer Rataczak, and Engineer H.E. Anderson on board. Two F-106 fighters from McCord Air Force Base followed the airliner, flying alongside each other, out of Cooper's line of sight. A Lockheed T-33 trainer, directed from a U.S. Air Patrol mission, followed the 727 until it ran low on fuel near the Oregon-California border. After takeoff, Cooper told Mucklow to enter the cockpit with the crew and remain in the passenger compartment with the door unlocked. When she complied, Mucklow observed that Cooper was wearing something around her waist. At approximately 8 p.m., the cockpit warning light indicated that the aft stairwell had been activated. The crew's request for assistance via the aircraft's intercom was rejected in a curt and silent manner. The crew soon noticed a subjective change in cabin air pressure, indicating that the aft door had been opened. At approximately 8:13 p.m., the tail of the plane sustained sudden upward movements, significant enough to require the retracting of the wings to level the plane. At approximately 10:15 p.m., Scott and Rataczak landed the 727 with the ramp still deployed at the Reno airport. Several FBI agents, federal agents, sheriff's deputies, and Reno police surrounded the plane, at which point it was unclear whether Cooper was still on board, but an armed search immediately confirmed that he was gone. Local police and FBI agents immediately searched for suspects. One of the first suspects was an Oregon man with a light criminal record named D.B. Cooper, who was contacted by Portland police on a 50-50 chance that the hijacker had used his real identity to hijack the plane, or that he had used this name in previous crimes. His involvement was immediately ruled out. Joe Frazier of the AP, rushing to meet a deadline, confused the eliminated suspect's name with the hijacker's false identity. The error was widely reported in the media, and the name D.B. Cooper became popular in the media. The hijacker's exact landing location was difficult to determine, as even slight differences in estimated airspeed or environmental conditions along the flight path, which could be significantly affected by location and altitude, could have altered Cooper's landing plan. A key variable was the time Cooper spent in free fall before deploying his parachute, if he had successfully deployed. Neither of the Air Force planes saw anything flying off the plane, either visually or on radar, and neither saw the canopy deploy. But at night, with low visibility and cloud cover obscuring any light below, a person hovering below wearing black could easily have gone undetected. The T-33's pilot never saw the 727 during the entire flight. An experiment was conducted to simulate Cooper's hijacking on the same flight path, piloted by Captain Scott. FBI agents, dropping a 200-pound, 91-kilogram dummy out of the open door of the plane, were able to reproduce the up and down movements of the tail described by the flight crew at 8:13 p.m. Based on the experiment, it was concluded that 8:13 p.m. was the most likely time Cooper jumped from the plane. At that time, the plane was flying over the Lewis River in southwestern Washington state in heavy thunderstorms. Initial extrapolation indicated that Cooper's landing site was likely south of Mount St. Helens, a few miles from Ariel, Washington, near Lake Merwin, an artificial lake formed by a dam on the Lewis River. Search efforts continued to focus on Clark and Cowlitz counties, including terrain features that occur on both the left and right sides of the Lewis River in southwestern Washington. FBI agents and sheriff's agencies from those counties searched a wide area of rugged terrain by helicopter and on foot. Door-to-door interviews and local searches were also unsuccessful. Other search organizations patrolled Lake Merwin and Yale Lake by boat, along with reservoirs in the area. No trace of Cooper, or equipment believed to have been removed from the plane with the hijacker, was found. The FBI also conducted a search using fixed-wing aircraft and helicopters from the Oregon National Search and Rescue Team along the entire flight path from Seattle to Reno.